You were going too fast. Here's your ticket.
Officer, I was driving the speed limit.
Tell it to the judge. Now sign. I told you not to resist.
Good question. You're coming with me.
Blue and red lights shattered the calm of the suburban night, splashing across the hood of the sleek black sedan. The hum of the engine died as Marcus Reed lowered his window, the faint scent of new leather mixing with cold asphalt and exhaust. License and registration, Officer Keller barked, one hand already resting on his holster. Marcus complied in slow, deliberate, palms open. He had learned that choreography years ago. Keller's flashlight burned across his face, then lingered on his skin longer than necessary. "This your car?" Keller asked, his voice curling with disbelief. "Yes," Marcus said evenly. "Is there a problem, officer?" The pause that followed wasn't silence, it was judgment, measured and sharpened. Keller's lips twitched. "Yeah, problem is, men like you don't usually drive cars like this unless they're borrowed or stolen." Marcus's pulse thudded once, hard. "Check the registration," he said quietly. "You'll see my name." Keller didn't move. The radio crackled. The night thickened. A passing car slowed, headlights dragging over the scene. One more witness, one more moment of quiet humiliation dressed as procedure. When Keller finally spoke, it wasn't to apologize. "Step out of the vehicle," he ordered. The air inside the car felt too small. Marcus opened the door, stepping into the glare, the weight of decades pressing down in invisible chains. His eyes locked on Keller's badge, the reflection of power carelessly wielded. Keller smirked, tapping the hood. "Let's see how well you know the owner of this beauty." Marcus met his gaze. His voice cut through the night like glass. "I am the owner." The officer froze, money, and the dash cam kept rolling. The city had gone quiet, that strange hour between exhaustion and renewal. Streetlights hummed, neon flickered, and the highway stretched ahead like a black ribbon polished by rain. Marcus Reed drove with one hand on the wheel, the other resting lightly against the leather seat. The car, his car, moved like a living thing, a fusion of power and grace. The first production model of his company's newest line, the Reed Velocity S9. He didn't see the cruiser until the lights hit. Blue-red, the pulse of authority. He sighed, easing to the shoulder. The tires whispered against the wet pavement. He already knew the choreography. Window down, hands visible, voice calm. The officer approached. Flashlight first, humanity second. License and registration. Marcus handed them over. "Evening, officer." Keller's light flicked across the documents, then Marcus's face. His gaze hardened. "This your vehicle?" "Yes, is there an issue?" "Yeah, this car's registered to a company. Reed Automotive." "That's right. So you work for them?" A pause, the night air chilled. "I own it." Keller chuckled, short, dismissive. "You own Reed Automotive, huh? That's cute." Marcus felt his jaw tighten. "You can verify it." "Step out of the vehicle." Marcus didn't move. "Why?" "Because I said so." Keller's hand rested on his holster. "Unless you'd prefer resisting orders tonight." The headlights of passing cars blinked like silent witnesses. Marcus opened the door. His shoes hit the pavement with a muted splash. Keller circled him. "Where you headed this late?" "Home." "From where?" "Work." "Doing what?" "CEO things?" The sarcasm cut sharp. Marcus said nothing. Keller smirked. "See, I stop people all the time who think they're above the law. But funny thing, law don't care about suits or skin tone, especially not skin tone." The words landed like a slap. Another car slowed. A phone camera lifted. Keller noticed but didn't care. "You smell like money," Keller said, leaning close. "But money don't make you clean." Marcus looked him dead in the eye. "Neither does a badge." Silence. Then the snap of handcuffs. Cold metal. The camera recording. "You're under arrest for resisting and suspicious possession of property," Keller said, reciting falsehoods with bureaucratic precision. Marcus's voice stayed calm, but his pulse roared. "You're making a mistake." Keller shoved him toward the cruiser. "We'll see who's mistaken when this hits paperwork." Behind them, the black car gleamed beneath the streetlight. Perfect. Silent and waiting. Inside the cruiser, the dash cam blinked red, and somewhere deep in the engine of that recording machine, justice began to stir. The fluorescent lights in the precinct hummed with the low buzz of neglect. Every surface carried the residue of fatigue. Stale coffee stains, fingerprint smudges, the faint trace of sweat and disinfectant. Marcus sat on the metal bench in the holding cell, wrists red from the cuffs that had finally been removed. The concrete wall behind him was cold, unyielding. He could hear the other detainees, murmurs, snores, a quiet curse. But he stayed still, centered in the storm of his own disbelief. His phone, watch, and wallet had been confiscated. His dignity temporarily suspended. From the hallway, Keller's laughter drifted in. "Yeah, you should have seen his face," Keller was saying to another officer. "Like he thought I'd roll out a red carpet just 'cause he's got a suit and a fancy car." The other cop chuckled. "You sure he's not telling the truth?" "Please," Keller said. "They all say they own something." Marcus closed his eyes. He'd built an empire from precision and patience. Every screw, every design line, every hire had been deliberate. But nothing in that careful order could protect him here. Here perception was law. Hours passed in uneven rhythm. The clock above the booking desk ticked with indifference. Finally, the morning shift arrived. A heavier silence settled as the night officers clocked out, and new faces took their places, including one that watched Marcus differently. Sergeant Ellis, mid-50s, composed, skin dark as mahogany and eyes lined with quiet exhaustion. He approached the cell slowly, clipboard in hand. "Mr. Reed?" Marcus looked up. "That's me." Ellis unlocked the gate. "Come with me." Keller, still at his desk, looked up and smirked. "Letting the CEO out early, Sarge?" Ellis didn't answer. His jaw tightened, but his tone remained steady. "He's being processed correctly. Something you didn't bother to do." Keller shrugged. "Guess I was too busy doing my job." Ellis's look lingered for a moment. Not anger, something heavier. "Your job is to serve the law, not your bias." Keller muttered something under his breath, but Marcus barely heard. He followed Ellis through the narrow hallway. The sergeant's pace was measured, deliberate, like every step was part of an unspoken apology. Inside the processing office, Ellis set down the file and motioned for Marcus to sit. "You've been held for 9 hours without charge," Ellis said quietly. "That's unacceptable." "I figured," Marcus said. His voice carried no bitterness, only restraint. "I've been trying not to take it personally." Ellis gave a faint, tired smile. "I wouldn't blame you if you did." He leaned forward. "Listen, I can't fix what happened out there, but I can tell you the report Keller filed is paper thin. It won't hold," Marcus nodded. "Then why am I still here?" "Because procedure moves slower than truth," Ellis replied. "And truth doesn't always win in places like this." Marcus exhaled. "You ever get tired of saying that?" Ellis's silence said enough. For a long moment, the room was filled only by the scratch of Ellis's pen against paper as he signed the release form. When he finally slid it across the desk, his eyes met Marcus's. "You'll walk out of here clean," Ellis said. "But this'll follow you whether you did something or not. That's the part they don't write in the reports." Marcus took the form. "Thank you, Sergeant." Ellis nodded once. "Don't thank me, just don't let it die quietly." Keller's voice echoed faintly down the corridor. Laughter again. Carefree, untouchable. Marcus looked toward the sound, then back at Ellis. "He thinks he won." "For now," Ellis said. "They always do, until someone with power makes them visible." Marcus's eyes narrowed. "Then maybe it's time he saw who I am." Ellis paused. "Careful, Mr. Reed. Truth costs." Marcus stood, straightened his shirt, and picked up his wallet and phone from the counter. So does silence. As he walked toward the station exit, dawn was just breaking outside, pale light spilling through glass smeared with fingerprints. The city beyond looked untouched, indifferent, continuing as if nothing had happened. Behind him, Keller's voice rose again, a joke. Another story told too loud. Marcus didn't turn around. He pushed through the door into the morning air, the chill biting his skin. The sun caught the edge of a passing news van pulling up across the street. Reporters were stepping out, cameras in hand. For the first time since the stop, Marcus smiled. Small, sharp, dangerous. The story wasn't over. It was just beginning. The precinct doors hissed shut behind Marcus, sealing in the stale air of humiliation. Outside, the world was bright, too bright. Morning sunlight bouncing off chrome bumpers and windshields like camera flashes. Except these weren't random lights. They were cameras. "Mr. Reed. Mr. Reed, is it true you were arrested last night?" "Sir, how do you respond to allegations that you resisted police orders?" Questions came in bursts, sharp, predatory. Marcus kept walking. His lawyer, Dana Fletcher, strode beside him in a dark blazer, blocking the microphones like a shield. No comment, she repeated, again and again until they reached the car. Not the Velocity S9 from last night, but a quiet black sedan from the company's older line. The irony wasn't lost on Marcus. Once inside, doors closed, the world dimmed. Dana exhaled sharply. "You're lucky I got the call early," she said. "They were planning to hold you another 12 hours. For what?" "Suspicious ownership of luxury property," she said bitterly. That's not even a legal phrase. Marcus leaned his head back against the seat. "It is when they need it to be." Dana looked at him for a long moment. "You want me to go public?" "Not yet. You're sure? The media's already spinning this. Officer Keller says you were agitated and evasive." Marcus's lips twitched. "I was polite. That's the part they'll never believe." The car moved through traffic. Outside, billboards for Reed Automotive flashed by, shining testaments to progress, diversity, innovation. The sight of them made his stomach turn. By the time they reached the company's downtown tower, news drones were already circling the entrance. Security guided them through the underground parking lot, past the silent rows of cars that Marcus had designed from scratch. Dana handed him his phone. "Your PR director's called 6 times. Board wants a statement." He unlocked the phone on hundreds of notifications. Headlines already screaming, "Black CEO arrested during traffic stop." Police call it procedural. Video surfaces of altercation between officer and driver. Public divided. Racial bias or routine check. Marcus's reflection in the screen looked alien. Calm, unreadable, but coiled with something too controlled to be peace. He looked at Dana. "What's our exposure?" "Minimal legally. Optically? Catastrophic. Investors hate unpredictability." He nodded once. "Then we stay silent until we control the narrative." Dana frowned. "You think silence helps?" "I think outrage fades. But truth sticks if you time it right." They entered the private elevator. The mirrored walls reflected Marcus in quadruplicate. The businessman, the suspect, the symbol, the man. On the top floor, the PR team was waiting, 3 people nervous, already spinning phrases like isolated incident and committed to dialogue. "Marcus," said Thomas Gray, the communications chief, "we're deeply sorry for what happened, but we need to be strategic. If we go too hard, we alienate law enforcement partnerships. Too soft, we lose the public." Marcus's tone was ice. "I was humiliated and detained for owning my own car. There is no soft." Thomas hesitated. "With respect, the optics—" "Stop saying optics," Don Marcus snapped. "This isn't a photo. It's a fracture." Silence. Dana stepped in. "We'll prepare 2 drafts, 1 corporate, 1 personal. You decide which to release." Marcus nodded. "Do that, but no press yet." "Not until I've seen the footage." Thomas blinked. "Footage?" "The dash cam," Marcus said. There was one running. "Keller didn't turn it off. You think we can get it?" Marcus's eyes hardened. "We will." He walked to the window, looking down at the city. The same streets where innovation met prejudice, where success didn't protect skin. Somewhere below, Keller was probably giving another statement, laughing again, secure behind his badge in the department's silence. Marcus clenched his fists once, then released them. "They think it's over," he murmured. Dana glanced up. "And it isn't?" He turned, gaze sharp. Not even close. The elevator dinged again. Outside, a low murmur. Employees gathering in the lobby, whispering, scrolling through headlines, seeing their boss not as the visionary they admired, but as a headline in a racial scandal. Thomas sighed. "People are asking if you'll step down temporarily." Marcus didn't flinch. "Tell them I'll step up." He walked out of the room, leaving their silence behind. By evening, the footage hadn't yet surfaced. But in a corner of social media, a bystander's shaky phone video was gaining traction, a voice shouting, "I am the owner." The clip ended there. Just 7 seconds. 7 seconds that could change everything. The boardroom smelled faintly of burnt coffee and tension. 12 executives sat around the long glass table, the same table where billion-dollar decisions had once felt effortless. Now the air was dense with discomfort, their silence louder than any accusation. Marcus entered without ceremony, flanked by Dana and his chief of operations, Elena Torres. Every head turned, pretending neutrality. Every gaze weighed him. "Let's start," Marcus said. Thomas, the PR chief, cleared his throat. "Before we do, there's been movement online. The Bystander video hit 6 million views overnight. Keller's statement went live this morning. He called it an unfortunate misunderstanding. A few board members nodded grimly. Others looked away. Misunderstanding? Marcus repeated. His voice was quiet, but it cut through the room. He handcuffed me on camera for owning my own car. "Marcus," said Harold Bell, the oldest board member, smoothing his tie. "We all sympathize, truly, but public anger doesn't last. The best thing might be to let it die down. No statements, no lawsuits." Marcus turned toward him slowly. "Let it die down?" "Yes," Harold continued, careful, managerial. "We're a car company, not a political movement. We don't want to alienate anyone." Dana's jaw tightened. "Alienate who?" "The people who think owning a luxury car while black is a crime." Harold's face stiffened. "That's not what I meant." Elena leaned forward. "But it's what you implied." The room crackled. Marcus stayed standing. "You're worried about markets, not justice." "I understand that. But I built this company on transparency, not silence." "Transparency can backfire," another board member said. "If you make this about race, you divide our base." Marcus's eyes narrowed. "It is about race. I didn't make it that way. Keller did. The system did." A thin silence stretched, broken only by the soft hum of the air conditioner. Thomas tried to mediate. "Marcus, we can address the injustice without naming it explicitly. Words like bias test better than racism. They're less inflammatory." Marcus turned to him, expression unreadable. "Inflammatory to who?" No one answered. He exhaled slowly. "Let me be clear. I'm not here to make anyone comfortable. I'm here because comfort is what got us here." Elena nodded. "We stand with you, Marcus. The rest of them can decide if they're standing for something or hiding behind strategy." One executive whispered something to another. The subtle shuffling of paper sounded like retreat. Marcus noticed the looks, the quiet calculus behind every polite expression. Fear of controversy, fear of losing investors, fear of being labeled. He finally sat down, folding his hands. "We can't separate business from morality." "Not anymore. The car Keller stopped me for was the Velocity S9. You know what that model represents? Diversity in design, sustainable labor, opportunity across color lines. And he still saw a thief behind the wheel. "Maybe we should delay the next launch," Harold muttered. Marcus shook his head. "No, we double it. We launch bigger. We remind the world who built this brand with who I am." Thomas sighed. "That could backfire, Marcus." "Then let it," Marcus said. "At least it'll be honest." The room fell into uneasy quiet. Elena spoke softly. "He's right. Silence won't protect us." "It never does." Harold leaned back, resigned. "Fine, but you'd better have proof when you speak. Without that dashcam footage, this is your word against his." Marcus's jaw tightened. "Then we get the footage." Dana nodded. "I'm already working on it. Keller's department is stalling, but we'll subpoena if necessary." "Good." Marcus stood again. Meeting adjourned. He left the room before anyone could respond. Outside, the hallway was lined with framed photos of his company's history, ribbon cuttings, factory floors, glossy magazine covers. His younger self smiled from one of them, the dreamer who thought achievement could insulate him. He stared at that photograph for a long time. Behind him, the boardroom door opened. Elena joined him, her heels quiet on the tile. "They'll come around," she said softly. "Or they'll hide until it's safe to care," Marcus replied. "Maybe," she said. "But people are watching now." "That matters," he gave a small, tired nod. "The wrong people are watching too." Her expression softened. "You're thinking of Keller? He's already framing himself as the victim. Good cop under attack. That story sells." Elena crossed her arms. "Then we write a better one." Marcus's phone buzzed. A message from Dana. "Leak confirmed. Dashcam footage exists. Internal source." Marcus's pulse quickened. "We may not need the courts," he murmured. "The truth wants out." Elena smiled faintly. "Then maybe let it." He stared out the window again, the city moving beneath him, indifferent and alive. The reflection of his own face blended with the skyline, a man split between power and vulnerability, between leadership and outrage. He whispered almost to himself, "They wanted to stop me. They started the engine instead." Downstairs in the company lobby, Whispers rippled among employees gathered around phones. The video clip now had captions. New angles. Clearer sound. Keller's voice. Men like you don't usually drive cars like this. Marcus's voice. I am the owner. And then, silence. The moment before the handcuffs clicked. The moment that now echoed across millions of screens. By sunrise, Marcus Reed's name had become a headline. By noon, it was a war zone. The video spread faster than truth could catch up. News anchors replayed the 7 seconds in slow motion, dissecting tone, posture, and facial tension. Social media erupted. Hashtags, think pieces, reaction videos. Driving while black trended first. Then Nakshai am the owner. At Reed Automotive headquarters, screens flickered between financial tickers and live news feeds. The company's PR staff had stopped pretending to work. Every eye was glued to the coverage. Dana swept into Marcus's office, tablet in hand. The clips hit 30 million views. Marcus didn't look up from the window. How's Keller handling it? He doubled down. Went on Morning Focus an hour ago. Said he feared for his safety and that you were non-compliant. Marcus turned slowly. Did he mention the dash cam? No. Department's claiming it's under review, which means they're hiding it. Dana nodded grimly. Public opinion split. Half the country's calling it racial profiling, the other half saying you're exploiting your wealth for sympathy. Marcus exhaled. Perfect symmetry of ignorance. His assistant entered, nervous. Sir, your investors are calling. Some want statements. Some want distance. Let them want, Marcus said flatly. I'm not apologizing for being arrested in my own car. Dana placed the tablet on his desk. You should see this. A news headline glowed. Officer Keller speaks. I did my job fairly. I didn't know who he was. Marcus tapped the screen. The clip played. Keller sat upright in uniform, posture clean, tone calm. The image of authority. I had no idea who the driver was, Keller said, hands folded. I treated him like any citizen. If anything, I was professional. I followed procedure. Marcus's voice was low. He followed prejudice, Dana studied him. We can counter this. Go on record. Reveal your identity publicly. Not just as the man in the clip, but as the CEO. Let the world see who he humiliated. Marcus was silent for a long time. His reflection in the glass looked smaller than usual. Not diminished, just heavy. You think that'll fix it? He asked quietly. No, she said, but it'll shift it. By evening, the company cafeteria was nearly empty, but clusters of employees still gathered over phones. Some spoke softly, voices edged with outrage. Others whispered skepticism. Maybe he should have complied faster. He did. Still, you don't talk back to cops. The words stung even when Marcus wasn't there to hear them. In his office upstairs, he watched the muted broadcast of Keller's interview replay for the 5th time. He saw how confident Keller looked, like a man who believed the system would hold him no matter how thin the truth. Then came a knock. Elena entered, her expression urgent. You need to see this. She held up her phone. A new leak. Longer footage this time from a passing driver's dash cam. Marcus took the phone. The screen lit with clarity. Keller's flashlight beam. The voice. The smirk. The moment he said, men like you don't usually drive cars like this unless they're borrowed or stolen. Clear audio. Clear tone. No denial possible, Elena whispered. That's your exoneration. Marcus stared at the video, heartbeat steady but fierce. No, that's his exposure. Within hours, the extended clip went viral again. News channels pivoted. Keller's calm veneer cracked. The department scrambled. Talk show hosts debated implicit bias. Experts analyzed power dynamics. But none of it mattered to Marcus. He wasn't interested in discourse. He wanted consequence, Dana called at midnight. The DA's office wants to talk. Civil rights lawyers are circling. We could sue. Marcus was quiet. If we sue, I become the story. If we stay silent, he does. So what do you want? Marcus looked at the city light stretching outward, the skyline glowing like a circuit of contradictions. I want to do something louder than either. Dana frowned. Meaning? I'm not giving interviews, he said. I'm giving a statement. And not to them, to everyone. The next morning, the New York Ledger headline read, Marcus Reed breaks silence. This isn't about me, it's about a system that stops you for existing. The article quoted him directly. Officer Keller didn't just doubt my ownership. He doubted my belonging. That's not a mistake, that's a mirror, and the country needs to look in it. The words spread faster than the clip. And in homes, offices, and patrol cars, people replayed that line over and over, hearing not outrage, but indictment. Somewhere in the city, Keller slammed his remote against the table. He had just become visible. The courthouse smelled faintly of old carpet and paper, the scent of bureaucracy pretending to be justice. Marcus sat beside Donna at the long oak table, his suit immaculate, his eyes unreadable. Across from him, Officer Keller leaned back in his chair, jaw tight, hands clasped. His lawyer, a smug man in a navy suit, flipped through a binder with performative calm. The court reporter adjusted her microphone. The low hum of fluorescent lights filled the silence. Dana spoke first. Let the record reflect. This deposition concerns the unlawful detainment of Mr. Marcus Reed by Officer Jonathan Keller, occurring on April 17th. Keller smirked faintly. Unlawful's a strong word. Dana didn't look at him. Truth usually is. She turned a page. Officer Keller, you claimed in your report that my client appeared suspicious. Could you clarify what you meant by that? Keller shifted. He was driving an expensive car late at night in an area where we've had thefts. So he fit a description? Dana pressed. Keller hesitated. Let's say the circumstances warranted a check. Circumstances, she repeated. You mean a black man in a luxury car? Keller's lawyer interrupted. Objection. Counsel is editorializing. Dana ignored him. Officer Keller, were you aware that Mr. Reed was the registered owner of the vehicle? Keller's smirk twitched. Not at the time. You had his license and registration in your hand, Dana said. Both matched. So I'll ask again, were you aware? Keller's eyes darted toward his lawyer, then back. I didn't believe they matched. Dana leaned forward. Because? Because people lie. People are black people. The room froze. The air thickened. Keller's lawyer shifted uncomfortably. Objection. Withdrawn, Dana said smoothly. Let's move on. She clicked the remote. The screen behind her flickered to life. The dash cam footage. Crisp, high-resolution, time-stamped. Keller's voice filled the room. Men like you don't usually drive cars like this unless they're borrowed or stolen. Silence followed. Marcus didn't move. He had heard those words enough to memorize their tone, the ease, the condescension. But hearing them in the sterile room under oath gave them a different weight. Dana spoke softly. That's your voice, Officer Keller? Keller swallowed. Yes. Did Mr. Reed threaten you in any way before or after that comment? No. Did he resist arrest? Keller's jaw flexed. Not physically, verbally? No, so he complied? Yes, Dana closed the file. Then explain why you cuffed him. Keller didn't answer. Dana leaned closer. You humiliated a man on camera for no reason other than your bias. You falsified a report. You hid footage. And you're still sitting here smirking? Keller's voice cracked. You're twisting it. No, Marcus said quietly. She's clarifying it. Everyone turned toward him. It was the first time he had spoken. Keller's lawyer looked irritated. Mr. Reed, this isn't your turn. Marcus ignored him. You pulled me over because you couldn't imagine me belonging. You couldn't see me as an equal, just a problem to solve. You think you followed protocol. You followed prejudice. Dana put a hand on his arm, but he continued, calm and deliberate. Do you know what that does to someone, Keller? To have to explain their own existence to a man with a gun? Keller's face flushed red. You're trying to make me look racist. Marcus's tone didn't rise. You did that yourself. The court reporter's fingers fluttered across the keyboard, preserving every word. Dana turned back to Keller's lawyer. We'll be requesting full departmental review and internal communications for that night. And we'll subpoena body cam data for any similar stops made by Officer Keller in the past 12 months. Keller's lawyer stiffened. That's excessive. It's accountability, Dana replied. The judge's clerk entered, collecting papers. Keller slumped slightly, the arrogance fading into fatigue. For the first time, Marcus saw not a monster but a man drowning in his own delusion of authority. Dana closed her binder. We're done for today. Outside the courthouse, the air was sharp with cold. Reporters waited beyond the barricades, microphones raised like bayonets. Mr. Reed, do you plan to press charges? Are you seeking damages? Do you forgive the officer? Marcus paused, eyes scanning the crowd. Cameras, flashes, noise. The same instruments that once recorded his humiliation now demanded his grace. He spoke evenly. This isn't about forgiveness. It's about truth. If we don't expose what's broken, we'll keep pretending it works. Flashes went off. His voice carried over them. One night, one stop. One sentence, and that's all it took to show the whole country how bias wears a badge. Dana whispered. You just gave them the headline. Marcus looked out at the horizon, the courthouse steps rising behind him like a stage built from centuries of injustice. Good, he said. Now they can decide what to do with it. That evening, the footage of the deposition hit the news cycle. Keller's defensive tone, Marcus's controlled composure, side by side, impossible to misinterpret. And in precinct offices across the country, conversations grew quieter. Officers rewound the footage and said nothing. Truth finally had a face. The morning after the deposition, Marcus's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Text messages, missed calls, emails with subject lines in all caps. By 7 a.m., the footage had gone viral. Cable news replayed his calm restraint against Keller's red-faced defiance. Clips looped on talk shows. Commentators debated tone and context. Marcus Reed trended worldwide. He stood in front of the bathroom mirror, toothbrush idle, staring at his reflection. The same face he'd always seen, tired eyes, steady jaw, but now the world had decided it meant something else. Symbol, headline, hashtag. Downstairs, Dana sat on the couch with 2 phones and a laptop open. Marcus, she said without looking up, you're the story now. I didn't want that. No one ever does. But you can't choose when truth decides to go public. She turned one screen toward him. News anchors speaking over the video. The officer maintains his stop was justified. Reed's composure has sparked conversations nationwide. The police union has issued a statement defending procedural conduct. Marcus's jaw tightened. Defending conduct, not character. They never do. Dana closed her laptop. They're circling wagons. Expect smear attempts, he exhaled slowly. They already started? Online threads. Fake claims about your company's funding. Claims you were aggressive during the stop. They're trying to flip the narrative. Make you the threat again. He leaned against the counter, arms crossed. The machine never sleeps. Dana looked at him, calm but sharp. Then don't either. We respond with evidence, not emotion. By noon, journalists crowded outside his headquarters. The front gate was flanked by security, cameras glinting like insects. Marcus walked past them, ignoring shouted questions. Do you regret confronting the officer? Are you anti-police? Do you see yourself as a victim or an activist? Inside the lobby, his assistant handed him a tablet. You should see this. A press statement from the police union filled the screen. Officer Keller followed standard operating procedure. Mr. Reed's emotional reaction is regrettable but understandable given current tensions. Marcus read the last line twice. Emotional reaction. That's how they write history. Sanitize the wound. Dana joined him, her tone measured. We'll counter it with footage, transcripts, everything. No spin, just facts, he nodded. Facts got us here. Truth will finish it. That evening, a panel show aired Keller's first post-deposition interview. The host, all polished empathy, asked gentle questions. Keller, dressed in a crisp suit, spoke in weary tones. I've served honorably for 15 years, Keller said. People don't understand how dangerous this job is. Split-second decisions, constant stress. I didn't mean harm. Marcus watched from his living room, the glow of the TV washing his face in pale light. Do you feel misunderstood? The host asked. I feel vilified, Keller said. I'm not a racist. I made a call and now I'm being destroyed for it. Dana muted the screen. Classic playbook. Victim pivot. Marcus stared at the frozen frame. Keller's practiced sincerity. He'll get sympathy. He knows how to perform innocence. You can't control that, Dana said. But you can control what comes next. He looked at her. Which is? She hesitated. Congressional hearing. They're reviewing racial bias in traffic stops. They've asked you to testify. He let out a low laugh, humorless. I was just driving home that night. Now you're driving the conversation. Dana said quietly. Days blurred into headlines. Anonymous death threats arrived, mixed with letters of gratitude. One message read, "You made me believe silence isn't safety anymore." Another, "Stay quiet or you'll regret it." Marcus read them both. Neither surprised him. In the boardroom, his executives argued over PR strategy. One said, "We should distance the company from controversy." Another whispered, "This could hurt sales." Marcus cut them off. "If this company can't stand for dignity, it stands for nothing. I'll take the hit." The room fell silent. He continued, voice steady. "We build cars that represent progress, as innovation, equality, access. That means something. If people can't handle that message, they were never our market." That night, as rain traced lines across his office windows, Marcus sat alone with the city below. The skyline shimmered, 1,000 points of artificial light. He thought of the dashboard glare that night, Keller's flashlight, his voice. One moment of hate that unraveled into something bigger. His phone buzzed again. A message from an unknown number. "You'll never win this. We run the system." Marcus stared at it, expression unreadable. Then he typed back a single line, "The system is cracking." He hit send and placed the phone face down. Outside, thunder rolled. The storm wasn't ending. It was just beginning. The Senate chamber smelled of varnished wood and tension. Every light, every lens, every whisper aimed at one man, Marcus Reed. He sat at the long witness table, flanked by Dana and a silent row of civil rights attorneys. Across from them sat the panel, senators in dark suits, some leaning forward with genuine concern, others pretending neutrality. The seal of the United States loomed behind them, a polished emblem of order that had so often shielded injustice. The clerk's voice echoed, "Mr. Marcus Reed, CEO of Horizon Motors, please rise." He stood. Cameras clicked. Flashbulbs popped. "Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?" "I do," he sat. The room quieted. Senator Halverson, the committee chair, white hair, fixed smile, leaned into his microphone. "Mr. Reed, we've all seen the footage. We've heard the deposition. But this hearing isn't about one incident. It's about patterns, behavior, bias, the culture behind the badge." Marcus nodded. "That's why I'm here." "Then let's start simple," Halverson said. "Why do you think this incident resonated so deeply with the public?" Marcus took a breath. His voice was calm, deliberate. "Because it wasn't just me. It was every black man who's ever had to smile through suspicion. Every driver who's ever had to prove he belonged in his own car. People recognized themselves in that stop, and that's the tragedy." A murmur ran through the crowd. Dana gave a small nod. Another senator spoke, a woman from California. "Mr. Reed, how did that experience change you?" Marcus hesitated. "I used to believe success insulated you from prejudice. That if you worked hard enough, built enough, contributed enough, you earned safety. That night proved me wrong. The system doesn't see individuals. It sees categories," he paused, "and it punishes the wrong ones." A younger senator leaned forward. "Do you believe Officer Keller's actions were representative or isolated?" Marcus looked him dead in the eye. "Isolated behavior. Representative problem." The senator shifted. "Explain." "One man's bias is bad," Marcus said. "But a department that defends him, that's rot. That's structure. You can replace the officer, but if the system keeps producing the same result, you're not fixing the disease, just swapping symptoms." Cameras zoomed in. The air thickened. Halverson cleared his throat. "Strong words, Mr. Reed. Do you support defunding law enforcement?" Marcus's voice didn't waver. "I support accountability. I support transparency. If money keeps flowing into systems that protect misconduct, then yes, redirect it. Fund training, body cams, oversight boards. Fund truth, not denial." Halverson leaned back. "Some will say you're politicizing your trauma." Marcus's reply was razor sharp. "I didn't politicize it. They publicized it." Dana slid a document across the table. Keller's disciplinary record. Marcus continued, "This isn't about one man's anger. It's about a culture that rewards fear and calls it safety. About officers who see threat where there's only color." A senator asked, "What do you hope comes from this hearing?" Marcus looked out at the audience, journalists, activists, citizens clutching signs that read, "Justice demands exposure." "I hope this country finally stops asking the oppressed to educate their oppressors. I hope it stops pretending this is new." He leaned into the mic. "And I hope the next time someone's pulled over, The only thing that matters is the traffic light, not the driver's skin. For a moment, no one spoke. The silence was heavier than applause. Halverson finally said, "Thank you, Mr. Reed. The record will reflect your testimony." Outside, the press swarmed the steps. Microphones surged toward him. "Mr. Reed, do you believe Keller should go to prison? Will you run for office? Are you still angry?" Marcus stopped mid-step. The noise collapsed around him. "I don't want his prison," he said. "I want his reflection. If he can look in a mirror and see what he became, that's justice enough." Dana whispered, "You just ended the debate." "Good," he said. "Maybe now they'll start the conversation." Hours later, the Senate released its preliminary report. It named Keller's department as one of several under federal review for racial bias. A new oversight bill was introduced within weeks. Keller resigned quietly. His pension reduced. His badge revoked. No press conference. No apology. Just silence. Marcus read the news at his office window, city lights flickering below. Dana entered with 2 cups of coffee. "It's not everything," she said softly. "It's a start," Marcus replied. They stood there a moment. The hum of traffic below. The steady pulse of something shifting. Marcus spoke quietly. "The system doesn't fall all at once. It cracks, it groans, it resists, but it remembers." Dana smiled faintly. "And so will history." He nodded. "That's enough." The city outside seemed different. Still unjust, still divided, but slightly awake. For the first time since that night, Marcus let himself exhale. The sound was small, but it was freedom. The verdict didn't come in a courtroom. It came in whispers, headlines, and boardrooms. Truth had moved through the country like a storm. It tore roofs off lies, flooded comfort zones, and left everyone staring at what had always been there. But storms have aftermaths. Marcus felt it in every quiet room. Contracts pulled. Meetings postponed. Partners reevaluating reputational risk. They didn't say it outright. They said things like timing, brand sensitivity, market perception, the coded language of retreat. Dana dropped a thick folder on his desk. "Another client's out. That's 5 this week." Marcus rubbed his temples. So much for solidarity. "They love your courage," Dana said. "They just don't want to stand next to it." He looked up. "Justice isn't free, is it?" "No," she said softly. "But it's still worth the price." That evening, Marcus attended the company's quarterly town hall. Hundreds of employees sat waiting, cameras broadcasting live to every branch. He stepped onto the stage, adjusted the mic, and paused. The room was still. "I know the last few months have tested us," he began. "We've lost contracts. We've lost comfort. But we haven't lost integrity." He glanced across the faces, engineers, designers, mechanics, black, white, brown, every hue of the country. When you work for Horizon Motors, you don't just build cars. You build belief that equality isn't an optional feature. It's standard. Applause rose, hesitant at first, then rolling, unified. Later that night, Marcus drove home alone. The city lights smeared across the windshield. Every intersection looked like memory. The red-blue of police lights replaying in the back of his mind. He turned onto the same highway where it all began. The same stretch of asphalt where Keller's flashlight had sliced the dark. He pulled over, turned off the engine, sat in silence. Rain began to fall, soft at first, then harder, each drop tapping the metal roof like a verdict. He whispered to himself, barely audible, "You're free. You're alive, and you still belong here." His phone buzzed. A text from Dana. "CNN wants you tomorrow. Primetime interview." He stared at it for a long moment, then typed back, "No, I've said enough. Let the silence speak." He dropped the phone on the seat and leaned back. For the first time, the darkness felt like rest, not fear. A week later, Keller's name resurfaced. Someone leaked his private messages, threads full of slurs, jokes, and complaints about quotas and types. The leak went viral. Keller vanished from public view. Marcus didn't gloat. He simply watched the news, expression still. Dana said, "Poetic justice." Marcus replied, "Predictable justice." The truth always leaves receipts. He turned off the TV. "But we still lost something." "What?" "Innocence," he said. That last little bit of hope that maybe it was just a few bad apples. Now everyone knows it's the orchard. Dana nodded, quiet. Then maybe it's time to plant a new one. Weeks passed. The noise began to fade. The world moved on as it always does. But echoes lingered. A school invited Marcus to speak. Not about business, but about courage. He stood before rows of students. Black, white, brown, shy, curious. He told them about fear. About restraint. About the choice between silence and truth. One student raised his hand. "Were you scared?" Marcus smiled faintly. "Every second. But fear only wins when it decides your voice." The boy nodded slowly, understanding something that adults often refuse to. Months later, Horizon Motors announced a new initiative: scholarships for underrepresented engineers, mentorships for young designers of color, and a recruitment pipeline for veterans and minorities in tech. Marcus didn't make a speech. He didn't attend the press event. He just watched from his office window as the banners were raised. The company's new slogan unfurled across the courtyard. "Drive forward. Everyone belongs," he whispered. "That's it. That's the legacy." That night, as the city's hum softened, Marcus sat on his balcony sipping cold coffee. The air was crisp, the kind that felt honest. His phone buzzed again. A message from Keller's lawyer. Just one line. "My client requests a private meeting. He wants to apologize." Marcus read it twice, then deleted it. Dana, standing in the doorway, asked, "You're not even curious?" "No," he said quietly. I already heard everything he had to say. That night when he looked at me and didn't see a man. He looked out at the skyline. Some apologies aren't meant to be received. Just remembered. Dana said nothing. She understood. The rain started again, gentle, rhythmic. Marcus closed his eyes. The sound wasn't punishment anymore. It was absolution. A month later, the Department of Justice released its findings. Keller's precinct faced major restructuring. Training reforms. Federal oversight, buried in the final paragraph. The incident involving Mr. Reed was pivotal in the department's accountability review. Marcus smiled faintly when he read it. He didn't post about it, didn't call the press. He simply folded the report, placed it in a drawer, and whispered, "We didn't just win. We survived." Outside, cars rolled down the street, engines humming, headlights cutting clean through the dark. He watched them disappear into the distance. The same road that once held his humiliation now carried his victory. Quiet, steady, unstoppable. A year later, the world had moved on, or pretended to. New scandals filled headlines. New names replaced old ones. But in quiet spaces, classrooms, precincts, city halls, Marcus Reed's name lingered. Not as a victim, not as a hero, as proof. The dashcam clip that once burned across the internet now sat archived in dozens of training modules on racial bias. Cadets studied it in silence. Some squirmed. Some took notes. Some didn't want to look. But they had to. In one police academy, an instructor paused the footage at the moment Keller said, "Men like you don't usually drive cars like this." He looked at his class. "This," he said, "is what destroys trust faster than any crime." Marcus no longer checked headlines. He didn't need to. He had stepped out of the cycle. The interviews, the op-eds, the panel invitations. He had returned to what mattered. Building. The Horizon Motors headquarters had changed. The lobby walls now displayed portraits, not of executives but of workers, welders, engineers, janitors, line supervisors. The company museum's newest exhibit wasn't a car. It was the original license plate from the night of the stop mounted under glass. A small plaque beneath it read, "Owned, not borrowed." Every visitor stopped there a moment longer than they expected. On a bright spring afternoon, Marcus visited the community workshop his foundation funded, a vocational center where teenagers learned mechanics, robotics, and design. He watched a young girl, no older than 15, wiring a motor with steady hands. She looked up shyly when she noticed him. "You're Mr. Reed," she said. "The car guy from the video." He smiled faintly. "That's one way to put it," she hesitated. "Did that really happen to you?" "It did." "Were you scared?" He nodded. "Yes, but I didn't stay scared." "That's the difference." She went quiet, then said softly, "My brother got stopped once. He still talks about it." Marcus crouched beside her. "Tell him that being seen isn't the same as being judged." And being judge doesn't mean being small. The girl nodded, returning to her work. Sparks flared. Small, controlled, purposeful. That evening, Marcus drove home. No escort, no camera crew, no headlines waiting. The city moved like a living thing, imperfect, scarred, but still breathing. At a red light, a police cruiser pulled up beside him. For a heartbeat, his chest tightened. That reflex born from memory. Then the officer nodded. Respectful, neutral, professional. Marcus returned the nod. The light turned green. Both cars rolled forward, separate lanes, same direction. He exhaled slowly. At home, he found Dana waiting on the porch, holding 2 cups of tea. She had lines around her eyes now, not from stress, but from survival. Long day? She asked. He sat beside her. Good one. They watched the sunset, the kind that painted the sky with slow forgiveness. Dana said, "You ever wonder what Keller's doing now?" Marcus shook his head. No, whatever it is, it's smaller than what he could have been. Silence stretched. The wind rustled the trees. Then Marcus spoke, voice low but certain. I used to think justice was an ending. It's not. It's a process, and slow, brutal, necessary. Like evolution. You don't win it. You become it. Dana smiled. That's going in your book someday. He laughed quietly. No book. Just proof that I lived it. When the night finally fell, Marcus stepped into his garage. The black luxury sedan, the same one from that night, gleamed under soft light. He ran his hand over the hood, the metal cool against his palm. For a long time, he just stood there. No cameras, no judge, no anger, only the car, the man, and the road waiting beyond. He opened the door, slid behind the wheel, and started the engine. The sound was smooth, steady, alive. He whispered to himself, "Let's drive." The garage door lifted, revealing the street, endless, open, unafraid. Marcus pulled out. Headlights cutting through the dark. The same world that once stopped him now made way. And for the first time, there was no fear in the mirror, only motion, only light, only freedom.